Alright, so what is going on, guys? Welcome back to some more Apex. Hope you're having a very good day as always. And as season 8 inches closer and closer, one of the biggest topics right now is legend rebalancing, legend nerfs, and legend buffs. I made a video about all of the upcoming legend nerfs like 2 or 3 days ago, and you guys seem to enjoy that video. So we're going to be taking a look at all of the upcoming legend buffs in today's video. Now, Respawn has given us clues and hints and details about some potential upcoming buffs in season 8. So we're going to be taking a look at those buffs, obviously, but I also want to talk about some speculated buffs, some likely buffs as well, based on cryptic messages that Respawn has given us in the past, and also based on stats, because we know Respawn tends to, buff legends and nerf legends as well based on their stats. So that's the plan for today. If you guys are ready, as always, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you're new. We're on the road to 50k subs right now, and it would mean the world to me if you guys could just take 1 second out of your day and hit that sub button. I'd appreciate it so much. It's also been proven that when you actually subscribe to my channel, you have increased luck when opening Apex packs, and you also tend to win more games as well. So yeah, just if you want more luck in Apex, hit subscribe. I also recently made a second channel which will mainly be focusing on like Apex gameplay, stream highlights and clips and stuff, so I'll leave a link down below to that channel as well. We actually just hit 1k subs on that channel within like 2 days, which is crazy. So if you want to sub to that channel too, the link will be below. Alright, so with that said, let's take a look at the likely legend buffs coming in season 8, and first up, let's talk about Revenant. Now, when Revenant first came to Apex back in season 4, he was kind of trash. Like, I think he just wasn't really what he was supposed to be when he first dropped in season 4. Obviously, since then Respawn gave him some buffs to both his tactical ability and his ultimate ability as well, and he's a lot more useful right now. We get to see a lot more Revenant mains in the game, and if a good Revenant is on the enemy team and like they know how to actually play Revenant right now, they could do a lot of damage, especially with his ultimate. Now, when Respawn was first talking about like Revenant state and the possibility of him getting a buff very soon, they actually kind of denied any Revenant buffs coming in this game. But then they said this. The lead game designer at Respawn, Daniel Klein, who we all should know by now, basically said this: his playstyle is what we call sharp, as in success and failure are keenly felt, and when his tactical and ultimate work, they work so well they make the enemy more frustrated than they make Rev and his team happy. That's a dangerous pattern. He absolutely should be getting buffs, but we didn't have the time to find the right buffs. Respawn also went on to say, we've been struggling to find a good buff for Revenant. I don't think we've properly discussed just shrinking his hitboxes to give him power without making him more frustrating. I bring it up in our balance round table. So basically what Respawn is saying here is that, Revenant is in a good place right now in terms of his abilities, and I agree. I would say he has pretty good abilities. His silence ability is really good, and of course his ultimate, the totem, is very, very deadly if the team knows how to play together and stuff. So I would say right now a buff to Revenant's abilities would be not necessary, but like just shrinking his hitbox would be a decent trade-off. I mean, Revenant is an assassin, right? He's supposed to be kind of slippery and hard to hit, so a smaller hitbox will technically make sense, and I feel like that's all he would really need to like reach his full potential in this game. So for all of the Rev mains out there, right, what do you think of a potential hitbox buff in season 8? Do you think Revenant even needs to get buffed? Do you think he's in a perfect state right now? And if you were to choose for yourself, right, what buffs would you give Revenant if you were a developer at Respawn? Would you buff his abilities? Would you buff his hitbox? Would you completely rework him? What would you do if you had the power to like just give Revenant any buff you wanted to for season 8? I can't wait to see what Respawn decides to do, because I really don't even play Revenant that much, and maybe I will play him if he gets a decent buff in season 8, so we'll see. What do you guys think? Alright, so now let's talk about, in my opinion, the worst legend in this game, and this is Rampart. When Rampart first came in season 6, she was not very good from the start. Like, she just wasn't a very good legend, and if you wanted to kind of have the Rampart effect, you'll be much more effective using somebody like Caustic or Wattson, right? I feel like Rampart just doesn't really have a good enough place in the Apex meta to really be considered by so many different players in this game. Now, I have seen some very good Rampart players. Like, if you know how to use her, you could be effective, and that goes with every single legend in this game, but generally you have to do a lot more work to make somebody like Rampart effective, right? And yes, I feel like she definitely needs some buffs in this game. And thankfully, Respawn is listening. So according to Daniel Klein, once again, Respawn is focusing right now on Rampart's ability to react quickly in gunfights. And they want to basically have her, be a legend who can really help out the squad. So what Respawn is doing right now is adding 45 health, 45 HP to Rampart's walls as they're being built. So basically when Rampart's walls are being built up, they have more health, which basically means they should be able to survive longer and not just get completely destroyed. They're basically trying to bring Rampart in line with other protective legends like Gibby and stuff, right? And although I feel like Rampart will never ever be on Gibby's level simply because of the type of legends that Rampart and Gibby are, it's a good start. Daniel Klein also said this: I believe there's still too much delay in the ability for her to use it reactively. I also think reactive versus setup isn't a black and white question. So we could even potentially see the time it takes for Rampart to actually build up her walls be decreased, which I think would be a very justified buff as well. But also with this buff in Season 8, Rampart's walls will also stop bullets except sniper bullets even when they're being constructed, which should be a very strong change. So basically, let's say you're trying to wall up and protect your team. If the enemies have assault rifles, SMGs, the G7 Scout, all of those guns, right? If it's not a sniper rifle, the wall, even though it's still being built, will protect you and your team from those bullets because they will not be able to pass through. Which, as I said, does sound like a very promising change for Rampart. What do you guys think about this Rampart buff in Season 8? This one most likely will be coming for sure. Like Respawn definitely will be buffing Rampart in Season 8 for obvious reasons. As I said, she's just not a very good legend right now in the game, and I'm pretty sure that most of her stats in the game also show how underpowered she is. So what are your thoughts right now on a Rampart buff? And if you also had to buff Rampart, how would you go about doing so? Let me know. Alright, so now let's talk about Wattson. Wattson is a really interesting legend to actually talk about because I would say right now Wattson is one of the best legends to use in ranked, and in any kind of competitive play we always get to see Wattson's very heavily in the mix because Wattson is a very niche legend in this game. Now Respawn also knows this. Respawn knows that Wattson has a very high win rate because of her abilities and how useful they can be in ranked. The main issue that Respawn has is that they're trying to find a way to make Wattson also usable and fun to play in pubs. So Respawn has actually talked about trying to find, some way to make Wattson more useful in pubs. I wouldn't say useful, but just more, applicable in pubs, because as I said, right, there's no real reason to have a Wattson in pubs unless it's a very sweaty match, and the fun factor just really isn't there for most Wattsons in pubs. So I'm not sure if Respawn will give Wattson a very small buff in Season 8 just to make him more applicable in pubs, but they have talked about the possibility of doing this very soon. So just keep an eye out for potential Wattson buff, and even if they do decide to buff Wattson, it most likely will be a very small one, not to make her too OP in ranked, but still just enough to make her more fun and more enjoyable to use in pubs. Now the very last legend on this list, guys, is Octane. Octane has always been an interesting legend because he has a very high pick rate right now, but I think most players who actually pick Octane in this game based on stats and based on facts are typically low tier players. I'm not trying to be negative to anyone, but this is just the simple facts, right? A lot of randoms, a lot of people who just play this game for 1 hour every 5 days, they tend to play Octane for some reason. Octane isn't a bad legend in this game. He isn't terrible. He is very fun to play and he has usability, but my issue with Octane has always been he has zero team value in a team-based battle royale game. Now the buff that Respawn has in store for Octane isn't even really gonna help his team value, it's still very much helping his solo value in this game. Respawn says our plan is to give Octane players access to that higher arc on the jump pad by default and let you opt in to the lower arc. Using the jump pad normally will now always give you the higher super arc jump. Crouch walking or sliding into the jump pad will give you an arc at the old normal height, potentially with a longer horizontal travel distance. So basically if you just jump onto the jump pad, you'll have higher vertical lift, but if you slide into the jump pad, you'll have more horizontal distance, which to me is a very good change. It is kind of like a buff, but it still doesn't really make Octane a better team player, but it still is a buff, and it most likely will come in Season 8 based on what the devs said. So yeah, for you Octane mains out there who want to see an Octane buff, I mean, here it is. He most likely will get this jump pad buff in the Season 8 patch. So look forward to that. What do you guys think? That's it for me today, guys. What do you think of all of these buffs coming in Season 8? Are you excited? Are you upset that your legend isn't getting buffs? What are your thoughts right now on these upcoming buffs in Season 8? Once again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in some more Apex. Till next time.